Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the broadcast today, Bob Lucey, the chairman of the Washoe County Commission, for the whole show on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
Hello, is this D&D Roofing?
Yes, it is. How may I help you?
You did such a great job on my roof. May I speak to the owner?
I am an owner.
Oh, can I speak to your supervisor?
Sure.
How may I help you?
I love your work. May I speak to the owner?
I am an owner. We're all owners. Well, that's why at D&D we work so hard to keep your home safe and sound.
Oh, no wonder.
D&D Roofing and Sheet Metal. Local, employee-owned, here for you.
Retail's impact on Nevada's economy? Enormous. 8,600 businesses, large and small, employing 145,000 workers. And last fiscal year, retail paid tax on nearly $60 billion in sales. We're the Retail Association of Nevada. We support retail, we help it grow, and we mean business.
RANNV.org.
Pro Group Management offers workers' comp services to a growing number of industries. As businesses grow and change with the times, the need for a solid workers' comp program must be flexible and up to date. The evolving nature of regulations can make staying ahead of complex tasks challenging. But Pro Group Management simplifies the work so your industry can move forward and succeed. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Truck drivers are some of the hardest working people you'll meet, delivering over 70% of America's freight and 92% of Nevada's. When there's a natural disaster, they're delivering critical supplies to help those communities recover and rebuild. Every sector of the economy and our nation's military rely on truck drivers. So let's take a moment to say thank you. On the open road or city streets, our truck drivers are rolling to make our economy and our nation stronger. Trucking moves America forward.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we're always pleased to welcome back to the program Bob Lucey. He is the chairman of the Washoe County Commission. Pleasure to have you back on the program, sir.
Sam, always good to be here. I love to see you.
Thank you. And so we're taping this on the morning of April 29th, and we're going to post this right away on the online versions and podcasts, etc. But it'll take a week or so for it to get out to all our other outlets. So just so people know, April 29th, so they don't get confused. The governor is going to get his chance to make a speech to the public tomorrow. Do you have any sense of what he is going to say in terms of opening up the state?
Well, what we heard obviously last week was, his somewhat discussion of what a phased reopening would look like. And
did that make sense to you?
None. I mean, I'm really sorry, and I'm hypercritical, but it didn't make any sense to me. It was, to come out and say that we're at phase 0 and hadn't made any efforts forward and not really showing a true plan of what a timeline looked like or what that structure was, other than a flattening of the curve. And most of the information that was provided from him is the exact same information that we had got from the federal government and the administration a week prior from FEMA and CDC about reopening America. So there wasn't a whole lot of differentiation in his information than what we'd already seen. So I felt like we were left with a whole lot of holes. So when that happened, we went to work and immediately said, well, let's start identifying what our specific needs are, a balanced and fair measure to go forward and reopen Washoe County. What does that look like? How can we help the governor provide him a plan with how our numbers are doing in our response to COVID and what we see going forward and how we'd like to reopen our community with the help of our industries? So I'm hoping that with tomorrow's announcement that he's going to give us a little bit more definition of what he'd like to see, definition in regards to how he plans to open the state. We hope that he approaches it from a regional standpoint. My understanding that he was presented at from the National Guard a plan to reopen regional wide.
And by that, do you mean that a plan for Clark County and the Strip versus a plan for Reno versus a plan for Elko?
Absolutely, and I think that needs to be, I was on a phone call with Chairwoman Kirkpatrick and all 17 county either chairs and county managers last Thursday, and the discussion was pretty diverse in the sense that the cases, obviously, for around the state are very much different. You know, Elko's and Humboldt County and White Pine are experiencing things much different than Washoe County, Pershing, the Quad counties, Story and Lyon and Douglas, versus those that are in Nye and Las Vegas and Clark County. And so what we're seeing is saying we need to have a different approach. We're very much different from California in the sense that LA and San Francisco may be geographically about the same distance apart as Reno and Sparks, but they have the 5 with multiple cities that connect them all the way down. So it's very easy to continue spread up and down. For us, even though 395 runs all the way between Las Vegas, there's hundreds of miles of desert in between us that prevent that geographically from that easy spread. Now, yes, transit does help, and that can do, but you know, we're very much different. We're not seeing the case exposure here the same size as Clark County. Elko County is definitely not seeing the exposure rates that we are seeing here. And you know, we're starting to see a flattening in the curve. For the last 3 days, we've seen our active cases actually go down. We had a peak at 520. Today, we're at 508. So those are good things.
In your conversation that included Chairman Kirkpatrick, did she agree with your thinking and the other chairman's thinking?
I think the chairwoman did feel that that we should have a regional approach and allow the counties to help, participate in crafting that plan for reopening.
So I've had discussions with several marketing directors for casinos in northern Nevada. Mm-hmm. And these are some of the smaller properties, not the largest properties. And what they're saying to me is, with this social distancing, if they're forced to shut down half the slot machines or 2/3 of the slot machines in their properties, that they won't be able to survive with that. Some of my suggestions on the other end, for whatever they're worth, is, you have ballrooms that are not going to be used for conventions right now. Maybe you can move some of the slot machines out of those areas. Of course, that would come up into other conflicts, security, things like that. There's also the prospect of putting tents out into parking lots that are not going to be full, so therefore you could, put the social distancing in there. What are you hearing and what are your concerns? Because some of these properties are thinking, hey, if we open up, we're going to lose money doing it this way.
Well, and look, our tourism economy has been decimated. At the RSCVA, as you know, as the chairman of the RSCVA, we're looking at layoffs for the RSCVA because
at this point, close to 26.
Yeah, and 40% of our staff we're discussing layoffs for, and that will be discussed at tomorrow's meeting. But it's pretty dire. And when you actually have, and so when I've had conversations with the Nevada Resort Association and what we're looking at, I think we want to be as dynamic with their reopening and be as flexible for them to allow them the ability to do whatever they need to do. Because as you're right, Sam, I mean, there are the physical constraints of the ability for people to move slot machines and re-engineer their gaming floors so that they can facilitate the social distancing. At a 21 table or a craps table, how do you socially distance to get enough people around a table that it's productive for you? So are table games even going to be in the mix? There's a lot of different dynamics that come into this as we move forward. But what you do here consistently is the Nevadans want to take an approach to see what they can do. We just need the ability to go out there and try a couple of different things, understanding that we would most likely adhere to the social distancing, the hygiene, the protection that we need to provide. But the liability also is a major concern for a number of these properties. They're worried that if they bring back customers and they bring back employees and somehow that they get COVID and there wasn't enough safety protocols in place, then you find yourself in a legal battle.
Okay, so just to bring that up, which is a very good point, we had those kind of concerns about distributing food from restaurants and casinos. There was excess food that was going to be thrown away, but it was actually good quality food, but the properties were concerned that if they were to distribute that food and somebody at the Reno Sparks Mission got sick, that they would be able to sue the casinos. And the state passed laws that said that, you know, that they were indemnified from being sued for that.
Right.
So isn't that something that we should see the legislature immediately put something into place that would indemnify the properties against that?
And this is exactly what I've been talking about, is that I hope the governor has some sort of plan, whether it's a special session to address the COVID-19 response. They're going to have to discuss it from a budgetary standpoint. They're going to have to discuss it from what are some of the legal ramifications and how we're flexible with the laws in regards to. Those are the discussions that need to be having, that they're currently having at the federal level. We need to be having those at the state level as well, because we're very, very specific in our needs here in Nevada, especially as it comes to gaming and tourism, when a majority of our fiscal landscape resides around gaming and tourism. We need to be having those discussions right now.
Senator Keycapper was on the program. We actually taped him a little earlier today as we're taping this. And he said that he is anticipating $1 billion shortfall in the state budget, and that we need to be in special session by June to be able to deal with this before we get into the next fiscal year. Do you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, right now, and the last time I tried to get some numbers before I came on this morning, but the last budget hearing I had at the county, we're looking at a $33 million budget shortfall in Washoe County for a $500 million annual budget, $500 million annual budget. A $33 million shortfall in just a month's time is dramatic. And realize a majority of our funding comes from property tax, 50% of it. But for the other organizations like the City of Reno, City of Sparks, and the state that rely pretty heavily on sales tax as well, those are going to have some sort of serious discussions immediately in regards to how we're going to financially be able to handle this. And you know, there's not going to be enough stimulus from the bailouts and from these CARES Act package. Now, I was on the phone with Senator Cortez Masto last night, and they are working on a fourth CARES stimulus package that is going to decide whether or not funding should be directed right to counties and local governments for aid, whether it's for their workers or stimulus to get their governments back online. But yeah, you're going to see some massive budget shortfalls, which will absolutely relate right to services being cut. So,
okay, before we even get to that, let's talk about the property tax side of things. The state and the federal government have talked about, loans and mortgages and things like that. Is there any discussion at the county level over whether there should be any relief for homeowners who can't afford to pay their property taxes because they're out of work?
We haven't had that discussion at the county yet. I mean, it is something that continues to be discussed. We're hoping we don't have to get to that level.
Because you know, the mortgage servicers, who are the people that would supply that money to you, they are getting killed because they have an obligation. So for people that don't understand this, when you send in your mortgage payment, you don't send it to the investor. You send it to a mortgage servicer, and that mortgage servicer then sends the money on to the investor. At this point in time, a lot of people aren't making their house payments, yet the mortgage services are still obliged to give the money to the investors. They are in danger of going broke themselves at this point in time.
Oh, absolutely. And if they can't collect, then the impound counts don't get collected, and our taxes don't come in. And so there's a discussion. There is a challenge there, and I think what it really relies on is that we have to go back to the heart of the issue, is getting people back to work and trying to figure out how we get the economy going again. And when people say reopening and starting businesses and how that's going to be impactful, you can't just turn a business off. As a business owner myself, you don't just turn a business off and then close it for 45 days and then reopen. You have to provide a purpose for consumers to come back, and whatever your service may be. And you have to give them the confidence that there's some safe and security, that they're not going to incur this pandemic. But you're also going to have to provide that business owner the ability, and they hopefully have the capital to re-energize, remarket, re-employ, put things back in place that they've been, basically bleeding for the last 45 days that they've been closed. And so it's going to be very, very difficult. So we're going to have to find ways at the county to provide some flexibility without us putting ourselves in jeopardy, but also providing the businesses an ability to get back going.
All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back with Bob Lucey after this timeout.
Can't do it. Stupid, like my mom.
We can't do anything at Mommy's because you won't pay child support.
Dad said you cheated, and he's not even sure he's my dad.
Mommy said you left both of us, so she isn't gonna let me see you. I look just like my father.
I'm divorce attorney Marilyn York, and I may represent men, but hate has no gender, only casualties. Please, stop sacrificing your children in your war against your ex.
Because of UMC, I'm putting my free time to good use.
Because of UMC, she keeps me on my toes.
Because of UMC and this guy, I'm here.
UMC, the highest level of care in Nevada.
Hi, I'm Eric Robnett, owner of Home Energy Experts. Has this ever happened to you?
Honey, did you remember to turn down the thermostat?
Forgetting to set the temperature? Not fun. We can help. Our new smart thermostat keeps the temperature set for your comfort all by itself.
I'm feeling hot now.
To increase your comfort, go to homeenergyexperts.com for details. That's homeenergyexperts.com.
The signs and symptoms of cataracts can start out small with subtle changes in your vision. So don't wait. Be proactive and take your vision into your own hands. If you're experiencing the onset of cataracts or just have questions, contact your eye care professional or call Eye Care Associates of Nevada today. Dr. Hiss has years of experience specializing in the surgical correction of eye disorders and has completed over 84,000 vision correcting procedures. At Eye Care Associates of Nevada, we'll change the way you look at the world.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Bob Lucey. He's the chairman of the Washoe County Commission. We are taping this on the morning of April 29th, the day before the governor is to make his announcement about hopefully the state opening up. Let's talk about, you brought it up briefly, the Reno Sparks Convention Authority. You're going to have a huge layoff, you said around 40%.
Right.
Realistically, what are you looking at in terms of being able to reopen that convention center? Because at this point in time, it's a potential hospital bed annex.
Correct.
It's not being put forward at this point in time, but it is definitely in place as far as the guard is concerned that if needed, and hopefully it won't be. But are you looking to start, or is your direction to the convention authority, do you start looking for conventions 6 months from now, a year from now, 18 months from now? Where do you start to even think of having groups being able to come into that convention center?
So it's really complex, and obviously it all lies on what the timeline is when we can get the casinos back open. And I don't necessarily see the casinos opening. I know Matt Maddox offered his opinion on how he felt certain casinos could open.
And that's for the head of Wynn Resorts.
The head of Wynn Resorts thought that they could open down. But his model doesn't necessarily fit every casino within northern Nevada or Nevada as a whole. And so once we get the casinos open, and whenever that happens, so we can have some properties that have some convention space and some ability to actually house some of these larger size that would facilitate the need for the Reno Sparks Convention Center. Once we get there, but we got to start looking at it from our sales team, seeing what conventions are still willing to travel. Once again, where's that consumer confidence? Do they have the ability? Do they really want to move forward and continue with their conferences? We're seeing conferences being canceled all the way out into August right now. And so with that being said, we saw the Veterans of Foreign Wars, which is a big conference.
Huge.
The first time in 118 years of their history have they canceled their annual conference, and they canceled it with us this year. That was a major loss for Reno Sparks. And when we continue to move forward, we're going to have to go and farm a number of these smaller conventions, and I think it's going to take us bringing some smaller conventions back in. But the other challenge we're going to have to see, Sam, is the air service. Air service is going to be, as you've seen, if you've driven by the Reno Tahoe Airport lately, you see a ton of Southwest airplanes just sitting out there waiting to get back into service. We have gone from a high daily service load down to about 5 to 10% service load that we've seen never in our lifetime. You don't see commercial jets running in and out of here anymore. So we're going to have to ramp that back up, and that's going to take time. So how do you get to Reno? Do you take one stop, or is it going to take you 5? And so I think those are all discussions that we're going to have. Can you get enough people here? Can you build the conventions? What did the convention looks like? So it's really a scalable understanding based upon certain things that have to occur first. And so once again, those are big discussions that we have to have with the state government in regards to what they do in regards to the reopen plan and how that's going to go. And that's why I continue to preach. I think we need to do it on a regional level and allow the counties to participate a little bit more heavily in the discussion so that we understand, because we know our market best, and we need to help curtail a reopening that's specific to, and you've seen it with the Nevada Resort Association. Even though they're one large organization, they have a northern section and a southern section that talk about very much different issues. So I think those are going to be the discussions that we see coming up.
All right, let's take another break. We'll be right back with Commissioner Lucey after this.
Dimitri Prine here for Design Outdoor. Come visit Design Outdoor's store and backyard to see our wide selection of fire pits, barbecues, and pizza ovens, natural stone water features and fountains, and frost-proof pottery. Our store and backyard are located at 11600 South Virginia, just north of DeMonte Ranch Parkway. Visit designoutdoor.com or call us at 851-9499.
Can't do it. Stupid, like my mom.
We can't do anything at Mommy's because you won't pay child support.
Dad said you cheated, and he's not even sure he's my dad.
Mommy said you left both of us, so she isn't gonna let me see you. I look just like my father.
I'm divorce attorney Marilyn York, and I may represent men, but hate has no gender, only casualties. Please, stop sacrificing your children in your war against your ex.
Hi, I'm Dave Newman. Remember me? I used to be the house detective, and now I'm a realtor, full-time at RE/MAX Realty Affiliates. A lot of people ask me, how's the market? You know what? It's fantastic. If you're even kicking around the idea of buying or selling, give me a call. Let's talk about it. Call me at RE/MAX Realty Affiliates and just ask for the guy who used to be the house detective, Dave Newman.
Everyone is talking about opioids, but they're not the only drugs that can be harmful if taken in large quantities or not as prescribed. You also need to be aware of side effects from anxiety drugs, muscle relaxants, sleep aids, and stimulants. Mixing prescription drugs with other drugs or alcohol can be dangerous. If you take Ambien with a glass of wine, it may be enough to stop you from breathing. Prescribed drugs can be just as dangerous as illegal drugs. Take medications only as directed.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Bob Lucey. He's the chairman of the Washoe County Commission, and we are taping this, so you know, on the morning of Tuesday, April 29th. We've heard from some individual property owners in Las Vegas on the Strip about their opening plans. What are the conversations you've had? Because unlike the big corporations in Las Vegas, even though we have corporations in Northern Nevada that run the properties, we actually really have individual owners that you can actually talk to and have conversations with. What are they saying to you about their concerns, their thoughts on reopening, what steps they need to take?
I think the number one concern that they're trying to identify is how they get their employees safely back to work, and that I think includes testing their employees to make sure that they either have antibodies for COVID or they've been negative for COVID, and then providing them with ample security protocols and sterilization protocols that allow them to go back to work safely. The concern is then, how do we get individuals back? And I think that's going to be the biggest challenge about remarketing our driving market areas. And realize here in Northern Nevada, we rely heavily upon our driver markets, which are Sacramento, San Francisco, Portland, those types of those very close markets. And while they're still under stay-at-home orders, Governor Newsom did continue to put his in act just the other day. It's gonna take us some time, so there's no real rush. So we're really gonna start working on a plan. I know that the Nevada Resort Association, in conjunction with a lot of the local owners, are slowly working on getting it back open. But I worry about the day casinos, the smaller casinos that are maybe not have a hotel, that aren't reliant on those larger numbers, that really need customers to start coming through, that may just have a restaurant. Those are going to be the ones we need to help out and figure what the next steps are for them.
Obviously we've never seen anything like this, in our lifetimes.
No.
And the media, let me ask you about that. They have done a terrific job of promoting the stay-at-home order. Are they going to need to do as good a job in telling people when it's safe to go back out and indulge in businesses?
Oh, absolutely. Look, we cannot allow fear to drive the conversation. We have got to get the message out that, look, things are safe again. We have to move forward. We have to move forward in a balanced way that's very measured in the sense of how we go about that. We have to make sure that the media gets out how we continue to act within the community. They have got to take an active role. It is essential because, as you and I discussed earlier, communication is going to be the essential part of this because there's so much information out there. They have to make sure that they're providing the information properly, rapidly to the individuals, and on a wide-based scale so that everybody gets the same consistent message. That is going to be the key as we reopen, that everybody has the message, because no matter how much work we do behind the scenes, if people don't understand what they need to do to take the steps, whether it's to get tested, what they need to do if they go to the grocery store, how they ride mass transit, those are the things that we're going to need the media's help to make sure that message is out there.
And that's where we have to leave it. And as always, you're always welcome here, sir.
Thank you, Sam.
We
Good
always
seeing you.
appreciate it. We'll be right back. Bird's eye captures its surroundings at different heights. At Brian Culpa Photography, we can make your imagination soar over buildings, parks, cityscapes, and beyond. Brian's images tell the story and get the job done. If you need a new perspective to tell your story, contact Brian today. Brian Culpa Photography. Experience the bird's eye view at brianculpaphotography.com.
Hi, my name's Marilyn Miner, and I'm sure you'd agree that Nevada's a very special place to live. I was born here, and my husband and I have raised our family here. I feel it's a privilege to live and work in the Truckee Meadows. I especially enjoy helping my clients reach their real estate goals. Sometimes the smallest details provide the greatest satisfaction. I'd be complimented to talk to you about your next move.
Call Marilyn Miner at Dixon Realty, 742-1280, or log on to marilynminer.com.
As you know, Reno is booming. Toll's development company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Toll's development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn more, go to tollsdevelopment.com. tollsdevelopment.com.
Pro Group Management specializes in providing industries with the necessary components to satisfy and exceed workers' comp requirements. Every business has unique needs and specific regulations. Pro Group Management stays ahead of the curve, providing up-to-date services to keep your industry in top form. Discover how we simplify your tasks, improve efficiency, and reduce expense to keep you moving in a positive direction. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
You can now watch Nevada Newsmakers on YouTube. Just go to YouTube and search for Nevada Newsmakers and become a subscriber. We'll see you on the next broadcast. Thanks for watching and listening.